All right, so you should have just finished your foundation row of 12 little triangles. So what we're going to do now is we're going to pick up and knit off of the slip stitches from our very first triangle on the long side. So here's maybe a better way to see it. So we've just made this. Now we're going to pick up here and then work this direction. So we're changing directions here. We were going this way, we are now going this way. So we'll pick this up and then we'll just keep going and picking up this direction. All right, so your first square is going to be a little different from the others because we are changing direction in the first square, and then with the other squares you're just following what you just started. So I'm going to put a stitch marker here just to help keep me straight for a minute. All right, I'm going to go in here and I'm going to pick up 8 stitches. Remember how we slipped all those stitches? That'll make this part a lot easier. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That one's kind of short, so I'm just going to go on the back half of that last one. Turn. So I'm going to slip that first stitch because we are going to keep slipping. So then we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So cool, we have 1 stitch here before our little stitch marker. So that means we are going to take that, last stitch from our new square and we're going to purl 2 together with the last stitch from our previous triangle. And just for the sake of my sanity, I'm going to put that stitch marker back on there. All right, so back to slipping. So slip 1, 1, 2, so we're knitting now. Knit 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, turn around again. Slip 1, purled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we're back to that last one. So we're going to purl these 2 together, combine our square with our triangle. Shapes are hard today, my gosh. So turn around again. So slip, and then we're going to knit 7. Turn around. All right, 3, 4. All right, so if you can kind of see the gap, we are purling together to close that gap. Turn around, and we're just going to keep repeating this, slip 1, knit 7, and then on the other side, slip 1, purl 6, purl 2 together, and we're going to keep doing that until we have absorbed all of our triangle stitches from that last triangle we just made. Got a few more rows, so bear with me for just a minute. Here you can kind of see how it's just beating up that triangle. Now it looks like we're laying little bricks on top of each other. So I think gradient yarns, where it makes that slow shift from color to color, is really awesome for Entrelac. You know, when you have that slow changing motif, it just is really complemented by a yarn made for it. A lot of times, if you try to do something with a hand-painted yarn, where you get the crazy colors, then you just lose the Entrelac in it. But Entrelac ingredients are just one of my favorite little knitting marriages. All right, so there's our gap again. We're getting close. And I know they're technically not rectangles, or not squares, but I learned calling them squares, so I'm probably just going to keep calling them squares for the rest of my life. All right, last row of our first square. All right, we're gonna purl those two together. So look, there we have our first little rectangle square, four-sided shape thing. All right, so we are now going to pick up 8 stitches from here. So your wrong side should be facing you, just to double check. All right, just to make things easy, I am going to put another stitch marker there. 1. I guess we're picking up and purling, not knitting. Pick up and work 8 stitches. 4, 5, 6, and sometimes we have to be a little creative on where we're picking. Oh, I missed that one. 6. Yep. Just be a little creative when you need to on picking up those stitches. And don't be afraid to get real close to the last one. It just means you won't have a hole showing through. All right, so turn around. You're going to slip that first one, knit 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So there's our marker. Slip that first one, and then we're just going to keep doing that purling. So, all right, purl. So 3, 4, 5, 6, and then, so now we are picking up the second triangle stitches. So really the only difference between the first square and the subsequent squares is how you pick them up, because we are turning around and going the opposite direction. So I'll just keep going and finish the square real fast so you can see what that looks like. There's that little gap. Closing that gap is just one of my favorite feelings in knitting. It's just so satisfying. Sounds like the neighbors have their chainsaw out. Sorry if you can hear that. It's just such a beautiful October day and I had to get outside and tape this. Close that gap. Take that marker out, we don't need him anymore. So if you get comfortable with these and want to start adding in some fun stitch techniques, this would be a really great place to do it. I've added some garter stitch squares. I've done a couple seed stitch squares. It'd be really cool to incorporate, you know, some cabling or lace. You could, let's see, I'm trying to figure out where I did it. But you could even kind of follow the basket weave thing. So here you can see this is garter stitch, and then it looks like it's gone under the stockinette and come out and garter again. So that's fun. It takes a little planning ahead, but it's just a fun little way to spice up your hat. Or if you want to leave it plain and let the gradient do the talking, that works beautifully too. It's not a wrong way to do it, as long as your hat stays together in the end. All right, we're gonna close up that last little gap. Oh, that is fun. Now we're gonna pick up and purl our next 8 from there and keep going. So we should have 2 little squares. Ta-da! All right, so when you have worked your way all the way around and you're here again and ready to turn and go the opposite direction, then we should see some cool color changes by that point. But when you're ready for that one, check in for the 3rd video. Happy crafting!